Question isn't, are we going to reach this new age, the age of love? The question is, when are we going to reach it?
Ross says, according to the probability vortices, as they will say, that we're scanning, it seems to be anywhere from 100 to 700 years that it will take.
Shared by 2050, we will be, in a sense, allowed in or an official member of the Interstellar Alliance.
It is our collective destiny to reach this point. No one, no action, and no thing can take this away from us.
So it's going to be very quick, maybe not fully within our lifetimes, but it is possible.
We will be presented with that choice to be part of this collective community.
That's also interesting because Ross calls it the Confederation of Planets.
We can bring the age of love here tomorrow, technically right here, right now. Welcome back to Hidden Revelations. I'm your host, Jason Shurka, and sitting alongside me is Brandon Bozarth and Aaron Abke. And today we're going to be speaking about the new age. Now, before we speak about what we're going to be talking about in this episode, I want to ask you all a question. And that question is, what comes to your mind? How do you feel when new age things are spoken about? What does that bring to your awareness? Does it turn you on? Does it turn you off? Are you attracted to it? Or do you want to step away from it because you think it's dark and demonic and filled with false light? Well, in some cases, that may be absolutely true, but it's not the absolute and only truth. There is another side to this coin, and there is absolute beauty in the new age that we are approaching. So when it comes to the pyramid code, closer to the end of the document, there's an age called the Age of Love. And I'd like to run you all through a timeline that is spoken about in the pyramid code and in general, what I've been taught from TLS and Ray specifically over the past couple of years, over the past few years. And it starts with something called the Dark Ages or the Age of Darkness. And from the Age of Darkness, specifically on December 21st of 2012, we moved into something called the Age of Light. And the age coming after the Age of Light is referred to as the Age of Love, what many would call the New Age. Religions have their own terminology for what that is. The second coming of Jesus, the day of the Messiah, nirvana, bliss, whatever you want to call it. The terminology that I've been taught to refer to, although the terminology really doesn't matter, is called the Age of Love, the new age that is coming our way in the collective of humanity as a whole. Now, we are currently in what is called the Age of Light. The Age of Light is all about exposure, exposing the darkness that's been present in our consciousness for millennia up until this present day. The darkness that's actually being perpetrated in this very present day with all the chaos that we see happening around the world. However, we will move out of all of this darkness with the help of the energy that we have present in the universe and specifically on Earth in this present moment, in this age called the Age of Light, moving into what we call the Age of Love. Now, many have said, well, wait a second, this doesn't sound like what our religions have told us is going to happen, simply because other words are being used. But as I said before, it's exactly what every story brings us to. A new age using different terminology and a different storyline for what that new age is called. We all believe in the same thing, no matter where we come from, no matter what terminology we use, and no matter what storyline we sort of allocate to understanding how we're going to reach this new age. And on the way, there is a lot of false light. On the way, there is a lot of deception. But much of the truth is being believed to be deception and darkness because many of us are confused. So in this episode, we're going to dissolve the New Age myths, the myths that have been taking us off our trajectory of reaching our absolute destiny. And we're going to do that by redefining and remembering what New Age really means. So with that being said, why don't we start with you, Aaron? Big picture, New Age. I know you come from a background that seems to be very religious as well. And you kind of fell out of that because you saw a lot of falsehoods and maybe certain things that weren't working according to the foundational aspects and spiritual nature of the universe as a whole.
Yeah, this is something that was very common in my religious upbringing that we see a lot of parallels with in our world today. That in the same way that right now the mainstream media, the government, big tech, they'll use this word conspiracy theory for anything that they want to ostracize or demonize, and basically get people to look away from and not investigate or do research. It's a conspiracy. You don't want to look into that because that makes you a quack if you look into conspiracies. We did the exact same thing with New Age growing up in church. If it was outside of our paradigm in any way, I mean, we're talking meditation, even just alternative forms of prayer, alternative forms of worship, yoga, all these completely harmless things, very beneficial things.
Wearing a crystal.
Crystals in general were New Age. Everything was New Age that wasn't Christian. And so it's like, oh, that's New Age. Oh, bummer. Conversation over. I mean, it was a conversation stopper. And so this is a very common tactic of the service to self polarity that in what we were talking about in the last episode, in terms of like influencing perception, they will use terminologies and labels that are distorted on purpose to keep a certain narrative or perception going about something. And I think that's what's happened with this New Age concept, not just from religion, but even within the spiritual community, in that the New Age really points us to where we are going collectively into this age of love. And I love the parallels between the pyramid code and the law of one on this, because Ra describes that in the year 2012, this whole Mayan calendar thing was really the Earth's transition into the fourth density, where, as we talked about, that 25,000 some odd year diurnal cycle, precession of the equinox, every time the planet in third density makes that precession, it's eligible to be magnetized to the next density if 51% or more of the collective consciousness is positively polarized, then it will be. So apparently we just barely made that graduation in 2012. So it's technically now a fourth density planet. But Ra says with the caveat that, as we know, in spirituality, nothing, no part of your shadow just disappears. You have to heal it. You have to integrate it and balance it. And so we do that individually in our chakras, and we do that collectively in the densities. The 7 energy centers are like little microcosms of the 7 densities, and we move through them in stages as we grow and develop spiritually. And so right now, collectively, we're moving from this third yellow ray solar plexus chakra into the heart chakra of the green ray, learning how to see each other as one and to love one another, to forgive one another. And so Ra says that there's a transition period that will happen between third and fourth density, where all of that collective shadow work will be done. As the pyramid code says, the age of light. Light is that which illuminates darkness. The light will have to heal our shadows for a certain period of time before we're, as Ra would say, true color green, fourth density positive. And so in this period we're in right now, we really see how, in a lot of ways, it's almost like Mother Gaia has begun to shake the foundations of our planet and is revealing in so many ways, really dramatic ways right now, all of these systems of corruption that have existed for a long time in our world, in our country, in our society, that even myself wasn't completely aware of until now. And like you said, it's very much a blessing in disguise, because we're really burning away all of these old kind of collective karmas from our system. And then we can be purified and crystallized and truly step into a fourth density civilization, or an enlightened civilization that the pyramid code describes is our destiny, but only after we do that collective shadow work.
I love that.
Just one thing I'd like to add before you come in, Brandon, in regards to a potential timeline that the pyramid code partially speaks about, but TLS definitely speaks about. And from the age of darkness to the current age of light, and eventually the age of love, the question is, all right, well, what kind of timeline are we seeing here? Is it in 1,000 years? Is it in 10 years? What's going on?
Right.
And the date that they give is exactly 180 years and 2 days from the commencement of the age of light, meaning that's the absolute deadline. That would mean December 23rd of 2192 is the absolute deadline for reaching this collective shift in our awareness and consciousness. However, and here's my personal motivating factor for doing all of this work from beginning to end. It's the fact that through our freedom of choice, we can actually make that happen a whole lot quicker. We can bring the age of love here tomorrow, technically right here, right now, on a technicality. But we could do it now in 5 years and 10 years and 20 years and 50 years. No matter what, it is our collective destiny, according to TLS and partially in the Pyramid Code document as well. It is our collective destiny to reach this point. No one, no action, and no thing can take this away from us. Right. The question isn't, are we going to reach this new age, the age of love? The question is, when are we going to reach it, and what is going to happen along the way? And part of what TLS tries to do in everything that they do is to mitigate the damage along the way so we can reach the age of love with a tragic catastrophe on Earth. It could be many natural disasters. It could be World War III. It could be billions of people dying from medical intervention and mandates. It could be many, many different things. But we can also reach it just by saying, you know what, we're ready. We're ready. We're going to choose to make the shift, and we're going to do that right here, right now.
Yeah, that's interesting that TLS gives that date, because when they ask Ra, how long will this transition period take before we're a fourth density society? And Ra says, according to the probability vortices, as they will say, that we're scanning, it seems to be anywhere from 100 to 700 years that it will take. So it's like, maybe if somehow the worst case scenario happens and we don't make that deadline, we kind of go through another karmic cycle of purging, these distortions out of us and all of that, until we can actually live in that society where our systems of government, our institutions, our education, everything reflects true unity consciousness.
Correct.
So it's going to be very quick in the grand scheme, maybe not fully within our lifetimes, but it is possible because it's available in awareness, right?